Welcome back to part 2 of crane rail expansion joint detailing, and we have this in place. So the next thing we are going to do is to mark the bolts location. So the bolts location will be placed, but we'll try to be away from this gap here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use edit tool here to access the point mark points tool here, and I'll come to online option. Now I'll snap at the middle point of that plate and stretch all the way to that end, and I'll be able to get this midpoint. Forget about these 2 points here. I can go further and delete them so that we avoid confusion here. So I've deleted that. So I have this point, single point here. So I want to create a midpoint between this end here and this point here. So I'm going back to edit and picking on the points. So I'll pick on the online option. So let me just come to points there and pick on online option here and snap on in here and snap at the end there. So I have that midpoint between this point and that point. And I need at this point between that point and the edge point there. Let me snap at the center there. So I have those in place. So you see the midpoint is right at the center where we have a gap of 10 millimeter, and there we don't want any bolt. So to offset it, I'll use this point once again to create a midpoint here so that we have another bolt from that spot. So I'll go ahead again and move to the other side and create a point right there. So we'll have a bolt there and a bolt here. So I'm going to create another midpoint here by using online option. I'll pick on that and snap here and snap right there. And again, snap there and snap right here. So what I'm going to do, number one, I'm going to delete the point that is at the center right there. And then remove this one also so that I remain with 50 millimeter center to center between the bolts. So, and to check this, you can see if I come to distance there and select on that, yeah, you'll be able to see that is 50 millimeter. And if I come there by coming back to measure, I'll be able to snap on that spot and check whether that is 50. Now the same applies to the other side. So let's see how the distance between the bolts and at the end here, that is 25. Perfect. Now that's okay. Now the next part we want to check with the closer this bolt is to the gap, the expansion joint here. So let me come to view and come to navigate and pick and rotate with mouse by left clicking and hold. You see we are slightly away out of that. So that is the best option. Now what I'm going to do, let first of all get rid of this first. Then I want to convert this to transparency so that I'll be able to see the components on the other side. So I'm going to come to render and pick on gray. So gray, I'll not be able to see everything clearly. I'll come to render once again and come and pick it and pick gray, and that's not best. And let me pick shaded, and I'll be able to see the other parts also. So let me pick the parts I want to bolt. So I'll come to bolts here and pick steel, then pick on the bolts there, then pick on the parts I want to bolt together. Select on that while pressing Control and select this and select on that and zoom closer, and I want to pick the other side and pick this one also. So once I've done so, I'm going to press my middle button on the mouse and start placement of my bolts. So I'll snap on that spot and snap on that spot. So I have my bolts in place. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch back to my previous rendering, and I'll come to view here and come to render and pick on the part rendered. So I have this in place. So if I stretch back to the other side, you'll be able to see we should have the bolts on the other side also, but it's not passing through. So what I'm going to do is quite a simple. I can add the length of these bolts. So let me just double click on it and come here. I've double clicked on it. Let me just give it some time, and I can come here and add the length, the bolt length here. Let me just drag it aside like that. Cut length. Let me just add that to maybe 300 like that. 300 and click modify. So if I click modify and come back and try move to the other side and rotate that, it's kind of not passing through, and that should not be an issue also. If I try and come here and maybe try hide that, try hide that, try hide that also, it is okay, and that should not worry you. We are going to modify that just right away. So let me just right click and come and redraw. So if I redraw that, I'll be able to, I'll lose my points, but that should not be a worry. Let me just left click and come to redraw. If I redraw that, I'll get back my bolts. So I'm going to pick this bolt here and right click, and I'll come to bolt parts. So I'll pick the parts I want to bolt, this and this and that, and I'll come to navigate and pick the parts that I want to bolt. Let me just turn that around there. It's not tending to be so much easy task to walk around. So what I'm going to do here is change the rendering to shaded. So I'm going to pick the parts I want to bolt. So I'll select the bolts, then right click and come to bolts parts. So I'll pick this member, press Ctrl and select on that member, press Ctrl and select on that member, press Ctrl and select on that member, and again select on this member. Then I'll press my middle button on the mouse. So if I come to navigate and come to that side and rotate it, you'll be able to see I have my bolts on the other side. So let me just come back to render here and pick render parts. So you can see we have the part here, the bolt passing through. So now we have that bolt in place and it has bolted both sides. Now let's go ahead and turn this on the other side. So once we turn this on the other side, we check the size of the bolt first by double clicking on the bolt. Then we'll see that is M20, and that's okay. We can leave it at M20 there, and we can add some washer right there. And the next thing we're going to do, since you have 50-50 center to center, I'm going to add 50 here. So let me just key in here 1 and 50 right there. 1 times 50, 1 times 50 right there, and press click OK. Now the part that is remaining is this section here, because our bolts did not extend. This and this part, they're different components that will need a different definition of bolting. Now I'm going to come back to steel there and come to bolts there and pick on the parts I want to bolt together. And prior to that, let me just change this render to a render that will help us will make us able to see the other section of the of the packing, or the plate, or the clamp, the clamping plate. So let me just come here and pick on render that. So I'm going to pick the parts I want to render. I want to bolt. I'll pick on that, press Ctrl and pick on that, then press Ctrl and pick on that and pick on this. Let me just move close. Now I want to include this one also. So I'll press my middle button in the mouse, and I'm going to snap on that spot and snap on that spot. So you'll see the bolt will have gone all the way through. So if I switch back to my previous render of parts rendered, I'll come to navigate by mouse, and if I rotate that, I'll be able to see it has been bolted like that. So that is okay. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll be able now, if I populate this on the other side, I'll be able to have this populated perfectly well to the full length of my structure. So let me just do one thing. I want to change my XYZ plane and place it somewhere here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick view and pick work plane and place my work plane somewhere here. And I want just to use the normal mirror. So let's try and mirror this on this end by selecting on that, by just selecting everything here, and get rid of what we don't want, like that and like that. So we have that in place, and that has been selected, but it seems we've picked a part that we don't need. Now once I've picked on that, I'll right click and come to spatial copy and pick on mirror. So once I've picked on mirror, I'm going just to pick my mirror line maybe from that spot to this spot here and click copy. So let's see if that will be mirrored on this end, and click OK. So I think it has been mirrored on this far end with all the connections or the clamping plates. So let me just turn that. So this is our expansion joint between the crane rails. So we haven't populated this all the way to the full length of our crane beam, but let's do that one go once we've now added some more details on how the rail will be clamped or will be held onto this crane beam. So let's meet then on the same on another part of the same topic of crane rail expansion joint detailing, and that is number 10. We are still on number 10, but in parts. So let's meet then. Bye bye.